Kevin, AEW Full Gear happened the other day. We're not going to do like a full review, but we are going to address some topics, some big talking points that I know around the community and just generally people are discussing in depth. What do you want to start us off, pal? What's going on?
Well, let's talk about the main event. It was MJF versus Jay White. This has been a match that was built up through prejudice and racism and bullying and scissoring, and yeah, so it culminated in basically what happened was MJF got jumped on the pre-show by some members of the Bullet Club Gold. Some of Jay White's cronies, as Michael Cole would say, jumped MJF in the parking lot. They do an ambulance spot, and yeah, MJF has a bad leg, and now all of a sudden, to start the show, they're like, "Oh, we're gonna give the belt to Jay White. Here you go, pal. You win by forfeit." And then Adam Cole comes limping out with his crutches. He's like, "No, you're not gonna screw over my best friend, bro. I'll defend the title for Max." And I'm just like, what? Like, you got a guy who has legitimately two broken ankles out there, like saying that he'll fight on behalf of MJF. It was amateur hour. That's like something you would see on an episode of SmackDown in like 2008. That's a dynamite angle. The whole ambulance spot, and they're building one of their cornerstone pay-per-views around an ambulance angle with a fake injury to MJF. And then he just Adam Cole's in the ring, got Jay White in the ring. Jay White's about to beat his ass, and then MJF's music hits. Oh, here comes the ambulance, pal. The ambulance is in the impact zone. MJF hops out, and then we get like a 30-minute match. That was already to cap off an already marathon of a show, already a 4.5-hour show. We get a 30-minute match on top of that, and what? I don't get it. I mean, okay, credit to them for trying to do storytelling. I'll give them that. They tried to do storytelling, but I mean, somebody should have been like, "Nah, bro, that sucks." Somebody, there had to be somebody back there, like Edge, Jim Ross, Christian, Mark Henry, Big Show. What are you paying all these experienced guys for? Not one of them could go up to MJF and Jay White and say, "Hey, that sucks." Do something else.
Kevin, I want your honest opinion on MJF's wrestling style in this match, because I found this hilarious. He's doing his Hulk ups. He's doing his he's crying on the ground. He's screaming about it's selling. I understand that, but this match, it just I'm watching. I was just laughing watching it. I don't know what they were trying to go for. Whether they're trying to make your heart bleed for Max, pal. You wanted to. You're just so wanting to see him do well and overcome the evil Jay White and all the anti-Semitism and all the bullying and the harassment and the stealing of the bells. And poor Max, he's crying, he's fighting, he's amping up like it's a 1980s wrestler. It was just, I don't know what I was watching. And then that was a similar reaction to a lot of the community. It was just it's like the MJF bubble. It's like the MJF match. It's so different to everything else. And I personally found it was like watching a Cody 2021 match. You're watching it going, this is so different to everything else on the show. This just feels so WWE. This doesn't feel like your AEW indie flip circus like a lot of the matches did. Not the Hangman match, which we'll get to shortly, but a lot of the matches are usually acrobatics. This match was just the MJF performance spectacle, which went for 30 minutes after the ambulance, after the Adam Cole thing, after the pre-show match.
Yeah, I just want to jump in with the WWE thing. It feels WWE, but it's like when Dean Ambrose and Baron Corbin had a pre-show match at WrestleMania. The build-up for that was Dean Ambrose getting jumped in the parking lot. That's something you'd see on a pre-show or the second match of the card. But go ahead, finish what you were saying. I just wanted to throw that in there.
No, I was just gonna say I was watching and just laughing, which I don't know if that's the desired reaction I had because Jay White was never going to win this title. So You're watching it going, okay, how are they going to have MJF win the match? And they did the whole ambulance thing. They do the storytelling. They have MJF wearing the Lakers gear, pal. It's this big emotional struggle, and he finally overcomes the evil Jay White, pal. And I was like,
yeah,
cool.
I know. And I'll just say this before we move on to the death match with Hangman and Swerve, because that's that big thing that everybody wants to talk about. So we got a lot to say about that. But
yeah,
I just want to say this: okay, MJF. He was put up against anti-Semitism. He had his championship belt stolen. And he got jumped in the parking lot. Like why was he not more like he should have been angrier? Don't you think? You know, instead he's like crying. Um, I don't know. I mean, if you're gonna build up a match with anti-Semitism and you got MJF saying like I will fucking kill you, you know, if you come near me, like I don't know, maybe like a hardcore match or something, falls count anywhere, last man standing match. I don't know. I'm not a booker. I don't know wrestling. I don't know. So just throwing that
Now
out there.
last man standing would have been good. Of all those stipulations, I think anything too hardcore would have been pointless after what we're going to get to in a moment now with the death match. But yeah, last man standing would have been perfect. I think. Yeah, MJF being, I'm going to knock you out for a 10 count. For everything you've said about me and my people and all this, but I don't know. I don't know. What do we know, pal? What do we know?
Yeah, maybe like the go home dynamite should have been the anti-Semitism thing. You know, then it's like, oh wow, how's MJF going to respond at the pay-per-view? Oh my god.
Yeah.
You know, that's a big heater to get you interested in the pay-per-view. I don't know. I digress.
I had like 5 weeks to go, pal. Anyway, pal, let's talk about the match.
Yes.
The death match, pal.
Yes.
This, Kevin, I'm just going to ask you now, this match going into the pay-per-view, like most of the hype and the buzz, it clearly wasn't the MJF thing. It wasn't really much else that was happening. It was this match. Strickland's been presented quite well as far as the AEW stars go in the last few months. This match, talk to us.
So I watched this in its entirety, and then this was the one match. I'm looking at the card, right? The Full Gear 2023 card. I'm like, okay, Adam Copeland, Mr. Softy is on the opening match, living out his childhood fantasy of like wearing Sting face paint with Sting. Okay, cool. Like Tony Khan's paying a guy $5 million to have an opening match, 6-man tag with his face painted like Sting, living out his 10-year-old fantasy. Cool, whatever. Not my money. And then I'm looking at, you know, we got Jericho is here with Kenny Omega, whatever. Okay, main event, cool. Anti-Semitism, yeah. MJF lost his belt, okay, whatever. And then I'm looking, okay, Swerve Strickland versus Hangman Page. That's the one. That's the one I underlined. I put a star next to. And this match delivered. You know, it did. It's certainly controversial, to say the least. People that hate AEW are having a field day with this match. And I mean, I can kind of understand. Like, I get from, like, a broad, general perspective, you probably don't want networks, or networks probably don't want a guy drinking another guy's blood, on their network, on their program. So, I kind of see that, but, like, okay, it's not really your business, you know? Like, it's not our business what Tony Khan does with his money, and with his, like, if he wants to ruin his network deals, good for him, you know? Like, I'm not gonna sit here and hate on AEW for that, you know what I mean? Like bare bones, the match was good. It was a bit squeamish at times, but I thought it was a good match. Really, they set the bar. They set the bar really high for death matches. At least like mainstream wrestling pay-per-view death matches. This was way more intense than Omega and Moxley from 2019. I can't remember the one from 2021 that had everybody talking, to 2022. There was another big one with Hangman involved. I can't remember who he wrestled, but yeah, it was certainly intense. Well, what did you think about this?
Now, I'll preface this by saying, just personal preference, I hate death matches with a passion.
Right.
They're not for me. I watch them and go, this has its place. This has an audience who loves it. I get the storyline for this, I guess, warranted it. Sure. I hate the death matches. This they did. I mean, people are talking about it. That's right away the main thing. It didn't under-deliver. I'll say that. Personally, once again, this wasn't for me. I'm not the desired audience with this. But I can't deny what they did. Some of the things I felt were a bit extra. Now, I think they went overboard with the stapler. I think that was a bit. I mean, a few staples, sure. You know, you have the part where you do the face. Sure, you do like that. Swerve was just like stapling himself just because to show he's like a madman. Cool. How many times was the stapler used? Like 20, 25 different staples were distributed. You know, bit extra. You could have gone without about 10 or 15 of the staples. Same thing with like, the barbed wire chair and how much that was used. You only needed a couple of spots with that. They used that like to 5 to 6 spots, I think, something like that. That was a bit over the top. What I'm saying is, I thought it was good per se, you know, but I think it was just overboard. Personally, obviously, from what you're saying there, Kevin, it's not a match that networks are going to love to look at. You know, if you're in a boardroom, you're thinking, oh, do we give AEW that 7-figure sponsorship going forward? And then they watch this and go, I don't know about that. You got blood being drunk. You've got, staples being put into someone's cheekbone over and over again. You got paper being stapled to someone. Interesting. This being said, what I will say, it is an alternative. That's the one thing we've faulted AEW with all year. That how's this an alternative to anything? This is just WWE, but worse. That's been AEW this year. This was an alternative, Kevin, objectively. This was something different. This was unique. So that's a big tick. Personally, I hate death matches generally. This I thought was a bit extra, but we can't fault the two guys involved. The fact that they put themselves through that will they get a pay rise from Tony Khan? Probably. He'll probably give them like $100,000 extra each, knowing Tony Khan his pockets. So I don't know, Kevin. That's my review, pal. At least it's an alternative.
No, I'm glad you brought up that point because I was going there next.
Yeah,
that's the one match on this show that I was like, okay, this is the future of the company. This is the now. This is the present day. Like, these are stars, Hangman Page is the guy that was handpicked by the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega and all those guys to be the face of AEW. Didn't quite work out. Swerve Strickland seems to be the next man up. Seems to be the biggest signing that AEW made from WWE. I mean, that's a hot take, but I mean, I would say he's a lot better than Saraya. He's not putting people in headlocks like Pepsi Phil. He wrestles like frequently on like Big Show and he can wrestle, he's in his prime. So there's an argument to be made. But I'm watching this and this is like two stars that are allowed to be stars. The opening match, like I said, you got a 50-year-old Adam Copeland fulfilling a 9-year-old fantasy, hanging out with Sting. You got Christian Cage running around with a dinosaur and some guy named Nick Wayne. Then you have Orange Cassidy versus Moxley, which is cool. Like, that's fine. Like, that's good. Whatever. Then you have Toni Storm versus Sheeta. Like, it's better than anything WWE's doing from a women's perspective. The timeless Toni Storm gimmick, at least she has a gimmick, bro. At least she has a character. But what's Rhea Ripley's character? Right?
She strains Adam Pearce because Adam Pearce did nothing.
Right. Wait, what's Bianca Belair's character, pal?
Bianca Belair's the S. She's the realist.
Pal, what's Charlotte Flair's character?
Pal, Charlotte's character, she shows up and gets title matches for no reason.
There you go. I rest my case. So, this is better than anything AEW or WWE is doing with their women's division. Then you have, like, Ricky Starks. He's in a tag team with, what's his name? He's Big Bill in AEW, but what's his slave name?
I don't know.
Cass, Big Cass.
It's Big Cass. It's the one who, was, how you doing?
Yeah, Ricky Starks should be the guy that's, like, ready to be crowned as the next man up instead he's tag teaming with Big Cass. So I'm like I'm looking at the card. I'm just like, then you got Chris Jericho in the co-main event at 53. They have the Young Bucks who nobody gives a damn about. Literally, Swerve Strickland and Hangman Page is literally the only thing that says, okay, this is the now, this is new, this is fresh, this is exciting.
Yeah,
this is what wrestling should be in theory. Like, this is what not wrestling, what AEW should be in theory. This is what we thought we were getting with AEW. It was going to be a card of matches like this, not necessarily death matches, but young stars. People that we never really heard about before, that are being brought in. Like, that's what it was when it started in 2019, 2020, early 2020, You had some past WWE guys sprinkled in, like Jericho and Cody, which is fine. But now it's just like, you got past WWE guys everywhere, And I don't know. Yeah.
Nah, it was good. It was a match that you can look at for AEW's 2023 and go, at least that match happened. Like, that one symbolized AEW. I'd personally say that match, as well as Bryan and MJF's Iron Man match, like, those are matches I think are synonymous with AEW, the personnel, the circumstances, everything. Like, these are like matches that you can, they're the cornerstone matches of your company that you sort of point to, which is good because likewise, I mean, what are your alternatives? Edge, Sting, and Darby Allin against Lance Archer and the Righteous, like on a collision. Like, what sort of other stuff are we working with here? I get Ospreay has some amazing matches, pal. Great. Good for him. But, like, what are the sort of matches that you really can sink your teeth into with a storyline, with identity? That, this is one of them. So there's that. But once again, I thought it was too extra, and I hate death matches personally. But
hey,
I give it props. It has its place, as far as giving a company an identity. Beats what they were doing with Adam Copeland and all these other wrestlers, pal. Ric Flair, Paul White in the 8-man tag match. Like, garbage.
Yeah, exactly. Swerve Strickland is a star. He's the next man up. He's the next big thing in AEW. He beat Hangman. It's cemented now. Yeah, what more can you say about the guy? Like he needs
Well,
to break the barrier, if you will, in AEW that Tony Khan has put up. So
I was gonna say, do you think they'll go all the way with
they
him,
need to.
considering circumstances surrounding skin color? Do you think they're gonna have him be the first Black AEW World Champion?
He should definitely be the guy that beats MJF. I don't see anybody else on the roster. You know,
Mm.
like if it's Adam Copeland, I would throw up. You know, like if it's
Adam Copeland.
if it's Adam Copeland, Chris Jericho, Kenny Omega, you know, if it's any of those guys, Orange Cassidy, something like that, like I just vomit. You know.
Yeah. Now, you need a guy with momentum who, cuts great promos, is like the full package. It needs to be a Strickland. It shouldn't be like an Osprey or someone like that, like a matches guy. It needs to be someone who has the full package, the full array of abilities, can really work the crowd, can work places that aren't just Wembley Stadium, someone who has a full grasp of wrestling. Someone like Swerve Strickland. Or maybe Ricky Starks thing, and he's been ruined because he's now with Big Cass and a tag team on the undercard, pal. So
Yeah,
there
he's
you
been
go,
ruined
pal.
because the Young Bucks don't like him backstage, pal. Well, yeah, you ready
Yeah,
to get out of here, pal?
I'm ready, pal. Good stuff.
Yes,
There you go.
sir. Peace.
Peace.